Monsters of the Multiverse, Spelljammer, D&D's recent changes and the direction of D&D moving forward. In 2 years, what will we be looking at? What version of D&D will most of us be playing? Is it going to be 5th edition, 5.5, 6th, or something else entirely? Will most of us even be playing D&D? What other tabletop RPG will take the crown, will earn your time and money? I don't have those answers, and I don't aim to explore those in this video. What I will go over, though, is how to become a weapon master. Stay with me here. If we look to Monsters of the Multiverse, we see significant changes. It's taken the chunk of alien-esque and monster-like races and placed them all into a single book. Monsters now have a new layout. Efficient, but to some, perhaps too simplified. Races are certainly different. Some abilities are removed, others changed, and notably, you have the put your stats anywhere sort of thing mentioned in Tasha's Cauldron. The big hiccup I've read about with Monsters of the Multiverse is how it's introduced a legacy feature, a new thing in 5e that refers to old content. Reading directly, this is what legacy is and means. The introduction of Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse to the D&D game has revised older content. Going forward, any content that does not reflect the latest rules and lore will be categorized as legacy content. Legacy content will be clearly indicated by a legacy badge. This is, of course, in something like D&D Beyond and the digital format. Legacy content will continue to be accessible and function consistently with other areas of the D&D Beyond website for anyone who owns that content. This means, as an owner of legacy content, there will be no disruption to how you wish to use and interact with that content as you do today. Legacy content cannot be purchased directly in the marketplace. As I navigate through the D&D Beyond website, notice that it says discontinued. Even though the legacy stuff indicated that as an owner of such content, I can still use it, I get how it might be perceived. Discontinued to many can mean invalid, antiquated, outdated, and therefore no longer the most efficient. A discontinued product in most markets indicates that there's something new, either available now or in development. Regardless, that new thing is most likely what you want. As goblins to treasure, it's the shiny stuff that draws our eye and our money. I'm not here to offer thoughts on whether I think this is good, bad, right, wrong, better, or worse. I'm not here to discuss whether future D&D should explore Dark Sun instead of Spelljammer. What I'm here for is to talk weapons and weapon masters. And I've said that already. So what do I mean? I have every piece of officially released 5e content. I purchased the Legendary Bundle years ago, and since then, I've bought everything released on D&D Beyond, oftentimes pre-ordered. Now, admittedly, I've only used about 60% of the content. If it was a book on my shelf, you'd still hear the crackle of cardboard and paper as you opened it, that wonderful creaking sound and the new smell. See, for me, purchasing these books is a habit by now. And while I'm fortunate to be financially in a place where I can just buy stuff that I don't use, I don't really buy this for any other reason than to say I have it, and if and when I need it, it's there. Now, I do share the content with my table, so maybe they'll use the stuff I buy. Though, to date, I have not used every single book I've purchased, I do plan to. I always plan to. That's part of why I buy it. Why? It sparks. It lights the fire. It fuels my imagination. It all helps me to become a weapon master. That's all a product needs to do for me. I don't need to think through how and when I'm going to use it in a campaign, if at all. I don't need to create a checklist of when and where I'll use that content. If something new releases on D&D Beyond, I'm going to get it. I only need to find one monster that inspires me, and the purchase is worth it. One encounter, one map, one sentence about how to run a forest adventure, and I'm good. Not everyone, but I've noticed that recently some folk are up in arms about Monsters of the Multiverse. And I'm sure there's a host of other books that are out there now or coming soon. I caution you against too much reliance on what someone else wrote to provide the spark in your game. It seems this is the sort of world we live in. Now, maybe I'm being cynical or an outright asshole, but hear me out. Everything is handed to us. If you need to know how to do something, you click a few buttons, type some words into Google or YouTube, and bam, there it is, a host of instructions. The days of trial and error are long gone for most of us. The days of try this thing for 3 weeks, see if it works, and if it doesn't, guess what? Do something else. Those days are gone. We have this thing where we need to know if a book is going to be good before we're willing to purchase it. Now, sure, I do respect those that have exactly $30 per month in their gaming budget. I'd be pissed too if I spent it on one thing and that thing sucked. But that's beside the point. The point is, stop waiting for someone to build exactly what you need. Use your own skills, your own wit, creativity, and effort. Use what someone else provided as a tool. Some tools are better than others, but you need to build the strength to hold the tool, to wield it. A great swordsman doesn't need a particular sword to demonstrate their skill. Sure, they might have a favorite, one that's weighted properly, one they're familiar with, but hand them any weapon and they'll shine. Stop focusing on the swords and focus on being a sword master. Give me any D&D book, even a shitty one, and I'll find some nugget of wisdom that I can bring to my table to make it all shine. In this way, every book is worthwhile to me. So I ask you, what are you doing? As we move forward in this wonderful hobby, will you bitch, moan, complain, or outright boycott what designers and creators put out there? Will your opinions be so strong in one direction that you won't even try something on the opposite end? Will you continue to focus on the swords that WotC keeps giving us to do battle with, instead of trying to become a master swordsman? I venture to become the best wielder of weapons in the world. Give me any weapon, warhammer, block of metal, staff, or stick, and I'm going to come out on top. They're tools, folks. Nothing more, nothing less. They have always been. For near 50 years, it's all just been tools, especially a tool that was centered around the concept of creativity and imagination. When did you stop being creative and imaginative? I'll tell you when. The moment you started judging the swords instead of your skill as a swordmaster. See you later.